Alex coming at you with another video. Today's going to be pretty much a kind of response video. Now, I'm going to be making a video in response to Ultraman Explained, one of his videos, and the reason why I'm doing this is because the subject really interested me for some reason. You know, it's something that I had in fact discussed on the Ultraman Wiki about 2 years ago or even more. So when I first saw that Ultraman Explained did a video on the subject, I was thinking, wow, I just got flashbacks to the Ultraman Wiki discussion that I had on this about 2 or 3 years ago, or however long it was. So, this is something that has always baffled me, and it's probably baffled any other Ultraman fan, and that is, how do Ultras procreate? Now, the thing is that when I was watching Ultraman Explained's video, I was really entertained, you know, it was a really great video, but there were some things that I just kind of wanted to address, either denounce or just kind of agree with. So the thing is that within the course of the video, I feel like one thing that should have been extremely mentioned within the course of the video was the fact that in the Mega Monsters Ultra Galaxy Legend movie, there was a scene where we actually got to see an Ultra baby, pretty much, like an Ultraman that's still a baby or infancy in its state. You know, usually whenever we see Ultraman children, they're really young, but this is pretty much the baby, the infant stage of the Ultra. You know, it comes in this little capsule. So here are my thoughts on how Ultras could procreate. Now, one of the first things that Ultraman Explained, or I'm not sure which order it came in, but one thing that Ultraman Explained did mention in his video was the fact that Ultras could reproduce asexually. Now, to be honest, I highly disagree with asexual reproduction, for the matter that asexual reproduction is more like cloning, you know. For example, let's say for example you took a creature and it asexually reproduced. Well, that version of itself would now go on to the child. It wouldn't be a cross between a male and female, two separate individuals. No, it would actually be just the one individual traits that go into that child, pretty much making it almost self-identical, which in my opinion I highly disagree with, because when you look at Ultra Mother and Ultra Father's child, Ultraman Taro, they don't look like they Ultraman Taro doesn't copy the exact same attributes as Ultra Mother, or else Ultraman Taro would pretty much be a healer. Also, is it me or does Ultraman Taro look suspiciously similar to Ultra 7? I'm not sure what was going on in the background, but I think Super Right Productions needs to elaborate more on their next series. But anyway, yeah, off from that subject. So in my opinion, I think that is a highly unlikely situation because of the fact that when you look at the offspring, like for example, Ultraman Taro, Ultraman Zero, they don't share just one single trait. I think Ultraman Zero is a really great example because he is a blue and red Ultra, and the thing is that Ultra 7 is a red Ultra, whereas the mother would have to be blue. So obviously there's some sort of connection between Ultraman Zero, Ultra 7 and the mother, because of the fact that Ultraman Zero shares two qualities and attributes of the mother and the father, which is something that I don't think asexual reproduction would do, because if that was the case, Ultraman Zero himself should be red, only have one eye slugger, as Ultraman Zero would be a near identical copy to Ultra 7 or the mother if one of them could asexually reproduce, which is of course pretty interesting because Ultraman Zero's concept design was going to be a different color from blue, but you know, the fact that they made it blue shows the kind of cross. So I think a really good thing to kind of mention from Ultraman Explains video once again was the fact that he mentioned the fact that they actually have technology to do these kind of things. Now the thing is, I don't think the Ultras really use technology. We don't really see them use machines. So the fact that they would use a machine to, for example, create a child, I think it's possible, but at the same time I doubt it's highly likely, because the Ultras don't use machines to do anything. You know, they don't use machines to transport themselves, to fire energy weapons, to teleport, or to fight. I mean, sure, you have the staffs and the swords that they sometimes use on their bodies and such like that, but you never actually see them use machines that often, to be honest. I think the only real machine that they ever really use is the plasma spark, which is of course keeps their energy going. But when it comes to actual Ultras, I don't think they actually use technology to do so. However, it is potentially possible because of the fact that this Ultra child is in a capsule. So it makes you wonder, are Ultras, for example, just created in a capsule and then just given off to the parents? I don't know. You know, that's something that has to be elaborated more by Super Right Productions, which will, of course, never come out because Ultraman, as long as Ultraman is a kid's show, unfortunately, we're never going to see how that actually occurs. So that's something that I felt like as though could be possible because of the fact that the Ultra Baby in the Mega Monster Hunter Galaxy Legend is kind of in a capsule-like device, or not really device, but in a setting of a capsule. However, the movie just showed the parents walking by and such after Ultraman Belial had been defeated. So it's up to the viewer to interpret that scene, but otherwise it wasn't really focused on in terms of it. But it did give off a lot of information in terms of how does a baby Ultraman pretty much start. I think a really good theory that I've come up with, and even Star Galaxy Lord has agreed with this before I even made this video, is the fact that ultras kind of work like animals. For example, like for example, let's look at an animal. You don't see their organs that they use to procreate. You don't see them instantly, but it's whenever they're actually engaging in the activity do they appear from the body. The thing is that humans are different because they kind of wear them outside of the body, whereas animals keep them inside. So that's a really good possibility that ultras just keep their organs like that inside of the actual body, and then when they're going to go in the process of actually doing it, then that's when there's like, surprise, oh. But yeah, but that's the thing. That's the thing about animals and humans. Humans are different. That's why we wear clothes, because we realize that we can't really have a way of hiding it within our own body. Whereas animals, I think, do that kind of stuff. So it could be the same thing that goes towards an ultra. However, ultras are highly evolved humans. So depending on how you look at it, it could be possible because humans can't really put that stuff in their body, but maybe an Ultraman could. That's why you don't see it exposed, because even though that's an Ultraman skin, it might have it within itself, I guess. I mean, I don't really want to go into the huge process of that, but that's a third thing, that I always thought about, whenever I consider ultras. Because the thing is, when you look at Ultraman Zero and some of the other offspring like Ultraman Taro, they're not just based off of one individual parent, they're based off of two individual parents. Again, you really get to see that when you look at the ultras. They share attributes of a mother or father. And how else would you get the mother and father traits? Well, obviously they would reproduce like animals would, but they don't really show them, of course, because it's considered, I guess, uncivilized. The whole point of ultras is to have dignity and, I guess, individual respect, so I guess ultras don't really run around with that kind of stuff, of course, and especially in battle, because that will embarrass them in front of their enemies. But the thing is that maybe when they're actually private alone, then they actually do show it off, obviously. I mean, that's a really weird way of putting it, but it's similar to what animals do. When an animal's fighting off against a predator, most likely you wouldn't see that kind of thing. Well, the same thing could apply to an Ultraman. So whenever I always thought of that, I always thought that Ultras would probably just do that, and we just don't see it because Ultraman is, again, a kid show. But I mean, I feel like that was something that Ultraman Explained didn't really mention, in my opinion. The fact that he mentioned that. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. If you guys have enjoyed this video, like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Bye.